The darkness between stars carried a message of terror that raced through the galaxy faster than light itself. Deep in the heart of the Valdari Empire's most advanced monitoring station, sensors that had watched over 1,000 worlds for centuries suddenly screamed with alarm signals that had never been heard before. Admiral Kethfer floated in his command chamber, his 6 arms moving quickly across holographic displays that showed readings so impossible his mind struggled to accept them. The energy signatures stretched across 3 entire light-years of space, a wall of cosmic destruction that moved like a living thing. Every calculation his computers ran came back with the same terrifying result. Nothing in the galaxy could survive what was coming. "Send the evacuation order," Kethfer commanded, his voice carrying the weight of a civilization's doom. "All worlds, all fleets, all stations. The storm comes for everything." On Earth, Dr. Kim Soo-jen pressed her face against the reinforced glass of Seoul's Global Defense Observatory, watching streaks of light cross the night sky in patterns that defied explanation. Each streak was a ship, and each ship carried thousands or millions of beings fleeing from something so terrible they abandoned everything they had ever known. The observatory's computers worked desperately to decode the alien signals that filled space around Earth. Most were in languages humanity had never heard, but the emotion behind them needed no translation. Fear, pure, overwhelming fear that made entire civilizations run. Doctor, we're picking up massive fleet movements, called Lieutenant Park Min-ho from his station across the room. His young face was pale as he read the incoming data. The Zenthon Confederacy just launched every ship they have. We're talking about billions of refugees moving toward the outer galaxy.
Hello.
Kim Soo-jin moved to his station, her eyes scanning the impossible numbers. The Zenthon Confederacy controlled 47 star systems and had been the dominant power in this part of the galaxy for over 2,000 years. Whatever could make them abandon their entire civilization must be beyond human understanding. On Luna Station, Captain Lee Dong-hae floated in the observation deck, counting ships through the massive viewing portal. The refugee fleets passed Earth's solar system like schools of frightened fish, never slowing, never stopping to explain what drove them. Some ships were so large they had their own gravity fields. Others were sleek vessels that moved faster than anything humans had ever built. 87 different species in 7 days, Lee Dong-hae spoke into his communicator. "We've tried to contact every single fleet. None of them even acknowledge our signals." The truth was painful but simple. To the galactic community, humanity was nothing. Earth was a tiny world with primitive technology and creatures too young to matter. When the great civilizations fled, they saw no reason to warn the humans any more than they would warn insects. But the humans kept watching, kept trying to understand. In laboratories around Earth, scientists worked around the clock to decode alien transmissions and understand what could terrify beings with technology thousands of years ahead of humanity's best efforts. Dr. Kim Soo-jin barely slept as she coordinated with research teams from every nation on Earth. The fragments of information they gathered painted a picture of something that challenged the laws of physics themselves. The aliens called it simply the storm, and their fear of it was so complete that they spoke of it in whispers, even across encrypted channels. Lieutenant Park Min-ho discovered that some refugee ships were broadcasting warnings, but not to Earth. They transmitted to empty space, to coordinates where planets used to exist. The young officer realized with growing horror that the storm had already consumed entire solar systems, leaving nothing behind but void. Dr. Park Min-ho said quietly, "I think I know why they won't talk to us. They think we're already dead." Last major fleet to pass through Earth's region was the Nexari Royal Armada. For 3,000 years, the Nexari had been the undisputed masters of faster-than-light travel. Their ships were works of art that moved between stars like dancers, and their empire spanned a quarter of the galaxy. To see them fleeing in disorganized panic told humanity everything they needed to know about what was coming. Captain Lee Dong-hae watched the final Nexari ship disappear into the distance, its energy signature fading until space around Earth fell. Silent for the first time in weeks, the refuge streams had ended. Every civilization capable of running had already run. Earth stood alone in a galaxy that had forgotten it existed, unaware that in the deep darkness between stars, something vast and hungry was already reaching toward their small blue world. The storm that had sent countless civilizations fleeing in terror was coming to finish what it had started, and humanity had no idea what was about to test their species in ways no amount of technology or preparation could fully predict. The galaxy had chosen to run from the storm. Earth would soon discover that sometimes, when you cannot run, you must learn to stand and face the thunder. The three Valdari ships that stumbled into Earth's orbit looked nothing like the magnificent vessels that had fled the galaxy weeks before. Their hulls were twisted and burned, their energy shields flickering like dying candles. These were not the proud explorers of a great empire, but broken survivors who had nowhere else to run. Dr. Kim Soo-jin suited up in the docking bay of Seoul Station, her heart racing as she prepared for humanity's first real contact with alien life. The moment she had dreamed of since childhood was finally here, but not in any way she had ever imagined. Through the viewport, she could see the damaged alien ships drifting helplessly, their crews too wounded and exhausted to maintain proper orbit. The airlock hissed open, and Kim Soo-jin stepped into a world that smelled of ozone and fear. The Valdari ship's corridors were too tall for humans, designed for beings that stood nearly 8 feet high. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on walls covered with symbols that hurt to look at directly. Commander Veltar waited in what humans would call a conference room, though the furniture was all wrong and the gravity felt slightly too heavy. He was tall and thin, with skin that looked like polished metal and eyes that glowed with their own inner light. When he spoke, his voice came through a translation device that made his words sound hollow and distant. Species cannot comprehend. What approaches, Veltar said, his tone carrying the kind of exhaustion that comes from watching everything you love die. We have seen the storm consume the Helix Nebula in less than an hour. 50 billion lives, gone as if they never existed. But even as the alien commander spoke of impossible destruction, Lieutenant Park Min-ho was connecting his portable computer to the Valdari ship's data systems. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard as terabytes of information flowed into Earth's quantum processing networks. What he saw made his eyes grow wide with wonder and terror. "Dr. Kim," Park Min-ho whispered, his voice shaking slightly, "this thing isn't just destroying matter and energy. It's actually changing the basic rules of how space and time work. It's like watching reality itself get rewritten." The data showed readings that challenged everything humans thought they knew about physics. The storm moved through space by creating its own pocket of different natural laws, turning solid matter into pure energy and then into something else entirely. Planets didn't just explode when it touched them. They simply stopped existing, if they had never been there at all. Commander Veltar watched the young human officer process information that had taken Valdari scientists centuries to understand, and he felt something close to respect mixed with his despair. But when he expected to see panic and pleas for evacuation, what happened next left him speechless. President Cho Min-seo appeared on screens across Earth, her voice calm and steady. As she addressed every human on the planet, "We have learned what approaches our world," she said simply. "Other civilizations have chosen to run. We choose to stand our ground. Earth has survived cosmic disasters before, and we will survive this one." On the International Space Station, which had been rebuilt and expanded in the weeks since the alien exodus began, Captain Lee Dong-hae coordinated a response that the Valdari refugees could not believe. Instead of building evacuation ships, human engineers were strengthening Earth's natural defenses. Instead of fleeing, they were preparing to fight something that had destroyed civilizations with technology thousands of years more advanced. "This is madness," Veltar told Dr. Kim Soo-jin as they watched human work crews installing massive superconducting arrays around Earth's magnetic poles. The storm shattered the Nexari's planetary shields like glass. "Your magnetic field is nothing compared to their technology." Kim Soo-jin studied the holographic display showing Veltar's ship's defensive systems, trying to understand how alien shielding worked. Her mind raced as she compared their advanced technology to Earth's much simpler but more robust approaches to planetary defense. "You're thinking about this wrong," she said finally, turning to face the tall alien commander. "You see our technology and think it's primitive, but you don't understand what makes humans different. We've been fighting cosmic disasters since our species began." She gestured toward a display showing Earth's history, marked with ice ages. That lasted hundreds of thousands of years. Asteroid impacts that blocked out the sun, and volcanic eruptions that nearly ended all life on the planet. "Every single one of these should have killed us," Kim Soo-jin continued. "Instead, we adapted. We learned. We became stronger. Your people built amazing ships and ran when something threatened them. Our people stayed and figured out how to survive." Park. Minho looked up from his data analysis, his face pale but determined. "The storm has patterns," he announced. "It's not completely random. If we can understand those patterns, maybe we can predict how it will behave when it reaches Earth." Commander Veltar stared at the humans around him, finally beginning to understand that these primitive beings might not be as helpless as they appeared. For the first time since the storm had begun its terrible journey across the galaxy, he felt something that might have been hope. The darkness between the stars suddenly exploded into impossible colors as the storm reached the edge of Earth's solar system. What had been empty space moments before became a writhing mass of energy that followed no known laws of physics. Very fabric of reality twisted and bent like cloth in a hurricane wind. Jupiter, the giant planet that had watched over Earth for billions of years, became the first victim. The storm's leading edge touched the gas giant's atmosphere, and something incredible happened. The Great Red Spot, a hurricane larger than Earth that had raged for centuries, suddenly began spinning backward. The massive storm clouds that had swirled clockwise for longer than human civilization had existed now turned the opposite direction, as if time itself was running in reverse. Then Jupiter's Great Red Spot simply vanished, not destroyed, not blown apart, but erased as if it had never existed at all. The giant planet's colorful bands of clouds began to fade, losing their orange and brown stripes until the entire world became a pale, lifeless gray sphere floating dead in space, deep beneath Sol, in bunkers built to survive nuclear war. The Faldari refugees huddled around their portable instruments and watched readings that made no sense. Commander Veltar's hands shook as he stared at energy measurements that broke his equipment's ability to display numbers. "Impossible," he whispered. To his surviving crew members, "The energy density is beyond anything we've ever recorded. How is this planet still whole?" 5 miles above them, Captain Lee Donghae stood in Earth's Global Defense Command Center, the massive underground facility that had been carved out of solid rock in just 3 weeks. Through reinforced viewports, he could see the sky filled with dancing lights that had nothing to do with the aurora. The storm was pressing against Earth's atmosphere like ocean waves against a seawall. Magnetosphere holding at 87% strength. Chief Engineer Song Yubin reported from her station at the North Pole. Her voice was steady despite the fact that she was watching forces that could destroy planets pressing against barriers that humans had built with their own hands. All secondary grid stations are online and ready. The storm wrapped around Earth like a hungry animal trying to devour its prey. Cosmic radiation that should have sterilized the planet's surface instead flowed around the reinforced magnetic field like water around a stone. The orbital platforms that humanity had launched in desperate haste created a network of electromagnetic barriers that turned Earth into something unique in the galaxy, a planet that could survive what had killed countless others. On Luna Station, Dr. Kim Soo-jin coordinated the global defense network while watching displays that showed energy patterns flowing across Earth's protective shields. What she saw made her heart race with excitement rather than fear. The storm wasn't just random destruction. It had structure, rhythm, almost like music made of pure energy. "All stations, this is Luna Control," she announced over the communication network that connected every defense installation on and around Earth. "I'm seeing repetitive patterns in the storm's energy output. It's not chaotic, it follows rules we just haven't understood yet." In the Deep Space Monitoring Station beyond Mars, Lieutenant Park Min-ho worked frantically at his computers. analyzing data streams that flowed in faster than any human had ever processed information before. His young face was lit by screens, showing mathematical equations that described how reality itself was being rewritten around Earth. "Dr. Kim, you're right about the patterns." His voice crackled through the communication array, distorted by the electromagnetic chaos surrounding Earth. "The storm operates in cycles like waves on a beach. If we can predict the timing, we might be able to strengthen our defenses at exactly the right moments." The Valdari refugees in their underground shelter watched their instruments in disbelief, as readings showed something that should have been impossible. The primitive planet above them wasn't just surviving the cosmic catastrophe that it sent. Entire galactic civilizations fleeing in terror, it was actually getting stronger. Earth's modified magnetosphere pulsed in rhythm with the storm's attacks, like a fighter learning to dodge punches by studying his opponent's moves. Each wave of destructive energy that crashed against the planet's defenses was analyzed, understood, and prepared for. Humanity was doing something that no other species in the galaxy had ever attempted. They were studying their destroyer while it tried to kill them. "Commander." Veltar stared at his instruments and felt something he hadn't experienced since his homeworld died. "Hope. They're not just defending themselves," he said quietly to his crew. "They're learning from it. These humans are using the storm as a teacher." Above them, Chief Engineer Song Yubin watched her polar station's equipment absorb massive amounts of cosmic energy and convert it into power for Earth's growing network of defenses. The planet was literally feeding on the force that was supposed to destroy it, growing stronger with each passing hour. "All stations report stable," she announced with quiet pride. "Earth is holding steady. We're not just surviving this thing, we're mastering it." The storm raged around Earth for hours that felt like years, pressing against human defenses with the power of dying stars. But when the cosmic tempest finally began to weaken, Earth remained whole, protected by barriers built by beings the galaxy had dismissed as too primitive to matter. After 6 weeks of fighting the cosmic horror that had terrorized the galaxy, humanity had done something that every other civilization thought was impossible. They were not just surviving the storm anymore, they were fighting back, and they were winning. Commander Jang Hunwoo floated in the command chair of the flagship Resilience, watching through reinforced viewports as his small fleet moved deeper into the heart of the storm than any living being had ever gone before. The ship around him hummed with power from engines that combined human engineering with alien technology, wrapped in experimental shielding that shouldn't have been able to exist. The Resilience and her sister ships looked nothing like the sleek vessels that had fled the galaxy weeks before. They were built like fortresses, covered in thick armor plating and bristling with equipment that turned cosmic destruction into useful energy. Where alien ships had been designed for speed and elegance, human ships were built to endure and adapt. "Storm density is dropping in Sector 7, Navigator Ojuan reported from her station, her voice steady despite the fact that she was flying through an energy field that had destroyed entire star systems. "The resonance generators are working. We're actually making the storm weaker just by being here." The resonance generators were humanity's greatest breakthrough, devices that created sound waves in space itself. By matching the frequency of the storm's chaotic energy patterns, they could disrupt its ability to maintain coherence. It was like fighting fire with sound, an idea so simple that the galaxy's greatest scientists had never thought to try it. Back on Earth, Dr. Kim Soo-jin stood in the Global Defense Command Center, surrounded by screens showing data from across the solar system. Beside her, Commander Veltar of the Valdari worked at a station designed for human hands. His tall frame bent awkwardly over equipment that was too small for his species. The proud alien commander who had once looked down on humanity now served as a technical advisor to beings he was beginning to understand might be far more dangerous than anyone had realized. "Your species is actually controlling the phenomenon," Veltar said quietly, his voice filled with wonder and something that might have been fear. "You're not just defending against it, you're making it do what you want." The readings on their screens showed something that challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about cosmic forces. Earth's network of stormbreaker stations wasn't just protecting the planet anymore. Each installation was actively draining energy from the storm and feeding it into Earth's power grid. Humanity was literally eating the force that had sent civilizations fleeing across the galaxy. Captain Lee Donghae coordinated the global defense network from the orbital command station that circled Earth like a mechanical moon. Through his viewport, could see the lights of Stormbreaker installations covering the planet's surface like stars, each one pulsing in rhythm with the storm's energy waves. The sight was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Each Stormbreaker station was a marvel of human engineering that combined raw determination with alien technology. The massive installations reached deep into Earth's crust, using the planet's own magnetic field as a foundation for equipment that could channel cosmic destruction into electrical power. What had once been humanity's greatest threat was now lighting their cities and powering their factories. Chief Engineer Song Yubin worked from her control center at the South Pole, monitoring equipment that had turned Earth itself into a weapon. Against the storm, her teams had spent weeks modifying the planet's entire electromagnetic field, installing superconducting cables that ran through the ocean floors and wrapped around the continents like a web of power. The resonance field is stable across all continents, she reported to the global network. Earth is singing in harmony with the storm now. What used to be chaos is becoming music. The planet had become like a massive tuning fork that vibrated in perfect harmony with the storm's energy frequencies. Instead of fighting against the cosmic tempest, Earth was learning to dance with it, turning destructive chaos into organized power that flowed through human machines like electricity through copper wire. Lieutenant Park Min-ho monitored the deep space sensors from his station beyond Mars, watching as the storm's energy readings dropped across multiple star systems. His instruments showed something that made him smile despite the danger surrounding him. "The storm is weakening everywhere we've placed resonance fields," he announced to the defense network. "It's not just getting smaller around Earth, it's losing power across the entire galaxy. We're teaching it how to die." The cosmic horror that had driven the galaxy's greatest civilizations into hiding was learning a new song. One taught by a species that had been dismissed as too primitive to understand the forces that shaped the universe. Humanity had faced their destroyer, and instead of running or hiding, they had chosen to study it, understand it, and finally tame it. Commander Veltar watched the readings with growing amazement as he began to understand what the humans had accomplished. They hadn't just survived the impossible. They had taken something that destroyed planets and turned it into a tool that served their needs. "You're not just fighting the storm," he said to Dr. Kim Soo-jin, his voice filled with respect that bordered on awe. "You're teaching the universe itself how to be less dangerous." The galaxy had learned to fear cosmic forces beyond their control. Humanity was teaching those same forces how to behave. The final wave of the storm crashed against Earth's defenses like ocean water against solid rock. Damned. And then something miraculous happened. The cosmic tempest that had terrorized the galaxy for months simply broke apart, its chaotic energy scattering into harmless radiation that drifted away into the void. After 10 weeks of fighting forces that had destroyed entire civilizations, Earth stood victorious. The first alien ships to return approached Earth's solar system with extreme caution, their sensors extended and weapons ready for anything. What they found challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. Earth didn't just survive. The storm it was glowing with captured energy, cities burning brighter than small stars. The planet's orbital rings, which had been simple metal structures before the storm arrived, now hummed with cosmic power that made them visible from millions of miles away. The Stormbreaker stations that covered Earth's surface pulsed with rhythmic light. As they continued to process the massive amounts of energy they had drained from the cosmic tempest, President Cho Min-seo stood on the observation deck of Earth's new orbital palace, structure built from crystallized storm energy that floated above the planet like a jewel made of captured lightning. Through the transparent walls, she could see the returning fleets of the Veldari Empire, the Zinthon Confederacy, and dozens of other civilizations that had fled when the storm first appeared. The alien ships hung in space at what they thought was a safe distance, afraid to come closer to the planet that had done the impossible. Their sensors showed energy readings that made no sense. as if Earth had somehow swallowed a piece of the cosmic force that had driven them all into exile. Representatives of the galaxy, President Chomin Seo spoke into the communication array that carried her voice to every ship in the fleet. You return expecting to find ruins and death. Instead, you find Earth stronger than ever before. You thought the storm was unstoppable, but you were wrong. You ran from thunder, but Earth became the lightning that commands it. In the Great Assembly Hall that had been carved from a single piece of storm crystal, Dr. Kim Soo-jin stood before an audience of alien scientists who had traveled across the galaxy to understand what humanity had accomplished. The hall itself was a wonder, its walls glowing with soft blue light that came from the crystallized energy of the cosmic tempest that had once threatened to destroy everything. The storm follows quantum rules that can be predicted and controlled. She explained to beings whose civilizations were thousands of years older than humanity. We've learned to read its patterns, to redirect its energy, and to transform its destructive power into something useful. What you feared as a force of chaos is actually a natural phenomenon that can be tamed. The alien scientists stared at the holographic displays showing mathematical equations that described how to bend cosmic forces to serve intelligent will. The technology that had saved Earth could be adapted to protect any world, to heal damaged space-time itself, and to turn cosmic disasters into sources of unlimited power. Commander Zhang Hunhua led a fleet of human storm riders through the galaxy, carrying resonance generators to worlds that had been damaged when the storm passed through their systems. His ships looked like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. 4 vessels wrapped in crystallized energy that moved through space like living creatures made of captured lightning. The storm riders could heal planets where reality itself had been twisted by the cosmic tempest. They could restore dead stars and repair the fabric of space-time in areas where the storm had torn holes in the universe. Watching human ships fix damage that their own technology couldn't even understand, the alien civilizations began to realize that they were no longer the most advanced species in the galaxy. The Valdari Empire, which had once ruled over hundreds of worlds, sent official ambassadors to Earth to request assistance rebuilding their shattered colonies. The proud Zenthon Confederacy, whose leaders had never bowed to any other species, found themselves asking humanity for help protecting their remaining worlds from future cosmic threats. Captain Lee Donghae supervised the construction of humanity's first galactic embassy, a massive space station that orbited Earth like a small moon. Unlike the embassies that other species built when they wanted to join the galactic community, this one was designed to receive visitors, not to ask for permission to exist. The embassy blazed with stormlight, its crystal walls and metal frameworks, creating a structure that was both beautiful and intimidating. Alien diplomats who came to meet with human representatives found themselves walking through corridors that hummed with cosmic power, surrounded by technology that their own scientists couldn't begin to understand. Commander Veltar, of the Valdar, stood in the embassy's main hall, looking up at displays that showed human ships carrying aid to damaged worlds across the galaxy. The beings his people had once dismissed as too primitive to matter were now the most powerful civilization in known space. They didn't just survive what we ran from, he said quietly to his aide. They conquered it. They turned our greatest fear into their greatest strength. The species that had fled the storm and terror discovered that Earth had become more than just a survivor of the cosmic disaster. Humanity had faced the force that terrorized the galaxy and transformed it into a servant that carried their will. Across the stars, in refusing to run when the universe itself tried to destroy them, humans had become the thunder that answered the cosmos and showed it who was truly in control.